Welcome to Security Heroes, a podcast by Athena Security. We share real-life stories to help connect you to real heroes in the security world. I am your host, Lisa Falzone. Warning, the following recording contains potentially disturbing content. Listener discretion advised. Welcome to Security Heroes. Joining us today is Christopher Furlong, Director of Security at Cranbrook Educational Community. Chris, thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
So please, if you can tell our listeners just a bit of background about yourself, who you are, what you do, what drives you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Currently, I serve as the Director of Security and Safety for Cranbrook Educational Community in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. We are a educational community that provides K through 12 learning, both day and boarding. So some of our students traverse to school every day, while some of our students live here on campus in dormitories. While we also offer higher ed, we have a Master's of Fine Arts program that offers a MFA in multiple art-based studies. And then we also have two public-facing institutions, our Art Museum as well as our Institute of Science. So we're open to the public. We have 332 acres, over 130 structures on campus. So we're quite unique and quite diverse. Prior to coming here to Cranbrook, I did 15 years in law enforcement. I started my career working for the Chicago Police Department before I moved back to Michigan, and spent the last 10 years of my law enforcement career working for Bloomfield Hills Public Safety, where I was a policeman, fireman, and a medical first responder, working 24-hour shifts. So that work really guided me to the path I'm on now. But it came a time where I realized my interests and desires were more aligned with the private sector. So I made that shift back in 2022 and landed where I'm at now and really having a great time.
Awesome. So what's the day in the life of the Director of Security? What kind of security protocols have you put in place at Cranbrook?
A lot of my day is centered on collaboration. That's one of the biggest things that I learned coming from law enforcement into, I guess, the private field, specifically education. It's the collaboration. I spend a considerable amount of my time, especially in a large institution like this. We're not just a K through 12 school, but we're also public facing and higher ed, really getting out there and meeting with people all across campus, whether it's fellow administrators, senior leadership, to students, to parents, and really getting their perspective and then sharing what I see our institutional goals being in terms of safety and security. That collaboration and sharing of perspectives, I think, really leads to being productive, right? If I'm just out there telling people what we need to do, it's very unlikely we're going to get the buy-in. And if you don't get the buy-in, most of your initiatives are going to be short-lived. If we spend time collaborating, sharing perspective, explaining the why, more understanding and buy-in. And before you know it, you have an army of people that are willing to support what you're doing and really push it throughout the whole community. And I think that's where you see that sustainable success and not just checking a box. We did this and then it fizzled out and died. A year later, we actually have sustainable success to where programs and procedures and policies follow through and truly make impact and make our community safer.
So what are some initiatives that have come out of the collaboration?
One of our most notable of recent is the introduction of BTAM, Behavioral Threat Assessment Management.
Okay.
It's essentially having a documented system so that situations of concern or information of concern can come forth to a multidisciplinary team that it can be reviewed upon to ensure that proper supports and actions are taken to kind of knock somebody off of the pathway of violence, right? Very rarely does somebody just wake up one day and want to do an act of violence. Typically, they end up on this pathway of violence to where there's ideation, there's research, there's preparation, there's planning, and then there's trial periods, and then there's the carry through of the actual act of aggression. So whether that's anonymous reporting from a fellow student or employee about something of concern they're seeing posted on social media, or somebody said something in the hallway, is there a mechanism for reporting that? And then once that is reported, is there a multidisciplinary team that takes in that information and kind of does a comprehensive analysis and further digging to see, is this credible? And most importantly, does this person need support? To knock them off that pathway of violence is one of the greatest things that we've instituted here in safety and security. One thing that makes us unique here at Cranbrook, it's finding systems that not only work for the K through 12 environment here on campus, but also finding that work for the higher ed as well as public facing, right?
Right.
If we just have K through 12 procedures and programs, well, that might not translate very well, and you might not get that buy-in at the what we call other program areas on campus. So finding programs that we can push out and we can really have that sustainable success because they translate into all of those environments. Another real important one is our recent implementation of the I Love You Guys Foundation standard response protocol here in Michigan. All things are pointing towards that is going to become a state requirement come next year. But we're still waiting for that advisement from the state. But the work that we did there ensures that we have shared common terminology from all stakeholders, not just students and parents, staff, but our community partners, our first responders, right? A lot of the issues that we see in school security is the lack of common terminology. What your school might call a lockdown might be entirely different than what my school calls a lockdown. So if we're all using that same terminology, it lowers that anxiety, it lowers that trauma, and we're really trying to build future preparedness through preparation and not fear, right?
Yeah.
If we have that shared technology, if we all understand what the common terminology means and when it would be used, people know how to react appropriately and in a timely manner. And again, I can't emphasize enough, an environment here at Cranbrook, finding a system that works across multiple program areas. And, the standard response protocol offers their program not only in the business format, but also higher ed format and K through 12. So it's a great complement of a program that really translates well into the day-to-day operations here at my institution.
So do you recall any specific incidences from your police days or from your current position where you or your team members have had to step up and take a heroic action to save a life?
Yeah, and I think it happens, honestly, I think every police officer get asked that question, like, what are the good stories that you have that you can tell me? And I think most of us have those stories. They don't come to mind as easily as people might think, at least for me. But I really think truly the heroic actions are those men and women that are either in law enforcement or security that work day and day to find meaningful, impactful success going forward that has validity and has kind of teeth that it's going to make that generational or institutional impact. Whether that is getting out there and meeting the community. I think all, just like myself, I can recall times of giving somebody CPR and saving their life. Everybody in the industry at some point or another has been involved in a situation like that. And those often go noticed. But I think it's often the work of the day-to-day grind of building relationships and educating people on the why and getting them to understand and then be part of the solution rather than the friction for the solution. I think that's the true heroes in this type of work, because it's easy to sit behind a desk and push initiatives, but going out there and kind of building a culture of buy-in behind these initiatives, I think that's the true heroic actions in this environment, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. So what was the most difficult adjustment for you coming in as a school security director?
It was that collaboration, especially coming from law enforcement, where it was more driven on, enforcement coming in. And I think I underestimated the impact of building those relationships and that collaboration. And also hearing what other people's perspectives are, right? One of my favorite phrases is, I don't do your job, right? I don't work for the museum. I don't work for the Institute of Science. I don't work in our higher ed. I don't work necessarily teaching in our K through 12 or in our dormitories. For me to truly understand what solution is needed, I have to hear and understand their perspectives of the people that work in those areas. So that would be my most difficult adjustment, because I underestimated the importance of it.
Who's the hardest to collaborate with?
Who's the hardest to collaborate?
Parent, the board, the students,
I would say it's individuals of all those walks that think or perceive they know the solutions based on what they've seen on TV or somebody has told them. Kind of spending a lot of time breaking down myths of why we're doing what we're doing. What our true goal behind a certain initiative is. That's the hardest person that comes in guided by things that might necessarily not be 100% factual. Oftentimes,
like what, for example?
An example would be easiest example I think that's coming to mind would be like, visitor management. We're just screening people just to screen people. When in fact, we're not screening people just to screen people. We're screening people to make sure that they are safe and approved individuals to be in our schoolhouses, but also that running understanding of who's in our building in the event of an emergency, right?
Yeah.
In the event of a fire, we know that currently through our visitor management system, we have 33 parents checked in the building. Without the visitor management system, we would have no ways of understanding who's in our building outside of our staff and students without a system like that. So, I find our students, especially unfortunately in the environment, my kids alone, they're growing up. I think our generation did not grow up with school violence like they see today or just violence in communities. Sadly, it's almost understood by our students more so than some of our adults, the need for some of these things.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, that our students, even at young ages, are understanding the need for locking doors and making sure we're not propping doors and that we're reporting suspicious behaviors to trusted adults. When I went to school, that stuff was never talked about, maybe not even necessarily needed, but the environment we're living in now, we really need our educational environments to have a culture of safety and security. Last week, I saw this video where it was almost a medicine cabinet, and it said, open me to see who's responsible for your safety today. And you open it up and it's a mirror, right? And it really signifies what we're talking about, that it's all of our responsibilities. It's not just the director of security, or the security officers, or the SRO, or the administrator. It's all of ours. And that's how we're going to be the safest, is if everybody in the community buys in and moves towards a common goal.
Totally. So did you guys just put in a VMS system?
Did a couple years back.
Were you there when that had to get implemented?
Yes.
So like what was that like, putting in a new technology, and was it mostly received positively, or what was the feedback?
Yeah, I would say the feedback was very positive. I would say a lot of the work was focused on finding the right platform that worked for our environment. We're a little more, I would say, a lot more unique than most, in the sense that finding the system that works correctly for your schoolhouse is the most important, right? Because if this system isn't implemented appropriately, and then the staff isn't set up for success, it's not going to work. It's not going to last the test of time, right? Yeah. So understanding, how does the front office work? What type of visitors? How often are we getting visitors? What doors are they going to? Is important in the successful rollout and implementation. And then, like I said, sustained success, that people are continually using it, right? Here at Cranbrook, we value our visitor management system because it allows us to own our space, right? Does the visitor have a visitor pass affixed to them? No. Show that they've been properly vetted and they're approved to be in that space. If not, we want people reporting that there's an adult in our space that might not necessarily be vetted correctly yet.
And then do you do like a quick background screening, or like have a BOLO list for those, for like anyone that shouldn't be in the building, like any like child predators or anything like that?
Yeah. I shouldn't say all, because I can't speak to that, but majority of your reputable visitor management system screens individuals through normally the National Sex Offender Database to make sure that they are allowed to be near or within a school. And then some schoolhouses can add restrictions onto their visitor management system to align with custodial agreements from court records, who's allowed to pick up the student and who's not allowed to pick up the student. But yes, most of your visitor management system screens the individual against the database, typically the National Sex Offender Database.
Awesome. You founded a private school security forum where 24 regional institutions work together. What are the benefits of collaborations like this for schools?
Probably one of the most impactful things I did professionally for myself. I remember early on, you always hear there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? We are all out there trying to achieve the same goal and create a safe and welcoming environment. And especially in the private school industry, there's competing interest, right? We all want people to enroll in our school. When we talk about security and safety, that collaboration with the other 23 private schools, at least in my area that we meet monthly on, has had great impact. Just being able to holistically get in a room and share concerns or recent situations and really bounce ideas, share trusted vendor information with. We're all doing the same thing. We're all really facing the same issues or hurdles or have similar goals. So we've had great success with all of us involved being able to grow professionally, not only as individuals, but also within our own institutions, being able to go back to our leadership or to our individual communities and say, this seems to be working really well with these other schools. We might want to look into this.
Cool. Any advice for school security directors on how to build something similar in their regions?
Google. I just started Googling and looking up all the private schools or all the schools in my area. And I just started calling the schools and asking who at your school is responsible for security and safety. Some schools have a director of security. Some schools, the student dean. Some it's the principal. And then I basically just put a date on the calendar in a meeting space, and I invited everybody. And we started that collaboration. And, I think we're 3 years in. But it's just that networking, just start calling people. Everybody is doing the same thing and they're going to walk in collaboration. You just got to get out there and meet people. And then you have that awkwardness in the beginning where it's like, what do I feel comfortable sharing? How honest can I be? But I can tell you from experience, now 3 years in, some of the people I've met in our group are the people I rely on the most.
That's awesome.
That you can pick up the phone and you can have a very honest, authentic, truthful conversation with and get some really good guidance.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and finally, as development chair for National Council of School Safety Directors, what are your goals for 2026?
Yeah, so this is a new position that I've recently taken on. The NCSSD, the National Council on School Safety Directors, is a great program. It kind of follows the same what we've been talking about collaboration and really engaging with partners from around the country. Some of our success, I believe, specifically in the development committee, is measured by partner and member engagement. But not only their engagement, but their retention. Are we seeing our partners? Are we seeing our members engage with us, but then stick with us? And then do we have responsible revenue diversification? So how are our partners able to help fund us and our initiatives? And are we doing that in ethical ways with aligned partners that really align with the mission of the NCSSD, but also what we're trying to do as a development committee. And that's specifically delivering education, resources, professional development opportunities that directly benefit our membership, so that they can go back and be successful in their roles that they hold within at their schools or their institutions. So it's really all about engagement, retention, and that we're doing it in ethical ways that we're seeing measurable impact in our membership, right? That they're seeing a value. It's through network of collaborations where school safety professionals and districts can learn and share resources, best practices, and their individual expertise. We're all, like I said before, we're all trying to do the same things, but our goal, overarching objective is developing standardized standards and training and certification programs for individuals that either currently are school safety directors or aspiring to be school safety directors, right? Providing them meaningful guidance to be successful in the role. Because I think there's a need for that type of individual, school safety director, to be in every school around the country, right? Somebody that on a daily basis intentionally looking at how to create a safe and secure environment for their students. I credit the people that work daily, where they're the dean of students and overseeing security initiatives.
Right.
That's a tough ask, right? That's a tough ask. So whether it's those individuals or dedicated school safety directors, we want to make sure that we are supporting those individuals with education, resources, and professional development so that they can go back and ultimately be successful.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thanks again for chatting with us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll just end the podcast. And if you want for any of these groups that you're involved in, want Athena to sponsor like a lunch and learn or something like that, we're happy to do that.
That'd be great. We can reach out and provide you some partnership materials for NCSSD.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a great program. To where you have a problem or a question, you're not sure how to go about it. There's this broader community,
right?
And somebody out there has experienced what you experienced, and they can offer some, really good guidance, or quite frankly, like lessons learned. We spend a lot of time in my smaller private group, speaking about lessons learned and debriefing, even the smallest incidences, because I truly think, in my time in law enforcement, seeing a member of law enforcement being killed in the line of duty is very similar to, somebody losing their life to an act of violence in our communities. And I think the best way we can honor victims of violence, specifically those who lost their lives, is taking a moment to reflect on lessons learned. Do everything we can to make sure that we do better next time, right? So great group. So if there's anything we can do to facilitate that partnership, I would love to be in contact with you.
Yeah, of course. Where are you located?
Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. So about 20 minutes northwest of Detroit.
I have people in Chicago.
Oh, do you?
Yes. And I could even go in person or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be in touch. Yeah. Really appreciate your time.
Like I said, if you can just send me the final edit and then I can sign off on it, then we'll be good to go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks. Bye.
Security Heroes is brought to you by Athena Security. To find out more about Athena Security and how we help save lives through our weapon detection solution, visit www.athena-security.com. And then make sure to search for Security Heroes in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Athena, thanks for listening.